The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be? For me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So for the fourth consecutive day, Adam Peters gets it done, makes another signing. This one was to be expected. As a matter of fact, the Kings last night on the show was a fun show. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go over to the Commanders Kings channel and check it out and relive all of the magic that was the show last night. So much fun. But we ended the show last night basically asking what was next. And all four of us, to a man, basically said Rashad White's getting signed next. That's the next domino to fall. And after that, we'll see what happens, what direction they decide to go in. But this was a foregone conclusion, much like Brandon Aiyuk to the Commanders whenever that release from the 49ers happens. Rashad White to the Commanders felt like it was inevitable. And so Adam Schefter reported today that Rashad White has agreed to a one-year deal. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Before we get to the main event, which is that Rashad White signing, let's handle some house cleaning as we always do here on this show. So let's start with some news about a guy that we talked about. Matter of fact, we talked about on the Commanders Kings channel last night how Jacob Martin felt like the odd man out. When they brought back Drizzy Drake Jackson, I started to become a little bit alarmed because it felt like, similar to what I told you guys about Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols, you can bring back one of them, you can't bring back both of them. One or the other, you can't bring back both. It felt like Drizzy Drake Jackson and Jake Martin were kind of one and the same. You can bring back one of them, you can't bring back both of them. They chose the younger option, one that Adam Peters was tied to from his days in San Francisco. This is a former second-round pick. He's only 25 years old. So it made a ton of sense that they would take the 25-year-old basically over the 30-year-old. So Jacob Martin, who had a career year for the Commanders last year, who's been a journeyman in his career, basically has had, now this would be his fifth team in the league. The Titans are now going to be his fifth team. Started out with the Texans, went to the Seahawks, or started out with the Seahawks, went to the Texans, then went to the Bears, then went to the Commanders. Now he's going to be a Tennessee Titan. 2 years, $11 million. It's a good payday for him. I wonder if that was part of the reason why they couldn't get something done, because remember, Jacob Martin, I think he was here on a $2.5 million deal last year. And while he had 5.5 sacks, I don't know if they ever envisioned him getting a 2-year, $5.5 million a year deal, essentially. I don't know. That's not a ton of money for Jacob Martin. But ultimately, when they signed Charles Omenihu, that was it. There was definitely no way, shape, or form Jacob Martin was coming. I still wanted to bring him to camp. But you can't bring a guy to camp for that type of money, right? If the money was still like it was last year, like 1.5, 2.5 million, you can bring him to camp. And if he makes the team, he makes the team. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But you can't bring a guy to camp for that kind of money. Once you exceed $2 million, really, at that point, you need to make the roster. That's a significant amount of money. So shout out to Jacob Martin for having a career year and parlaying that into a really solid payday for himself. But we've got tremendous depth at defensive end now, and there was just no way Jacob Martin could be back in the mix after all of the signings. Odafe Owe and Kaylavon Chason and Charles Omenihu, and you still have Dorrance Armstrong, and you still have Javonte John Baptiste, and they brought back Drake Jackson. And so there's just so many edge rushers on the roster already. It was hard for Jacob Martin to be a part of the mix. So shout out to Jacob Martin. He is now a Tennessee Titan. 2 years, $11 million. Another guy that I did not think they were going to bring back, so I was wrong on this one, is Trent Scott. Felt like his time here had run out. He was a non-factor last year. Well, and that was a blessing, because the reason he was a non-factor was because we really didn't have too many injuries on the offensive line. It was a group that stayed relatively healthy throughout most of the year. But even in them being healthy, remember Trent Scott once upon a time had a carved out role and niche for himself as the jumbo tight end when they would go to their jumbo package. Remember, he caught Jaden Daniels' first touchdown pass. That'll be a trivia question 7 to 10 years down the road. But even last year, he wasn't featured in that role. So it felt like they put Brandon Coleman in that role last year because they wanted to get Coleman on the field in some capacity. So I just felt like, okay, if they can't even use Trent Scott as a jumbo package tight end, where's the value in him being here? Well, apparently they still feel like he can play, multiple positions. And I wonder if this is tied to Nick Allegretti potentially being your starting center. Remember, Allegretti, while center was going to be his main position this year, he could still play both guard positions, right? So his positional flex, did I just use that phrase? I think I did. His flexibility made it okay for them to maybe move on from a guy like Trent Scott. Remember, Trent Scott also is a guy that can play both tackle positions. I don't ever want to see him at tackle either side if I don't have to. I don't have a problem with him playing guard. He was the one that stepped in for Sam Cosmi in the divisional round against Detroit, and I thought he did an admirable job. So I don't mind him at guard. I don't want to see him at tackle. I think we said the same thing about Andrew Wiley. Like, I don't mind Andrew Wiley playing right tackle in both guard positions. I really don't ever want to see him at left tackle. So maybe this is more to do with Allegretti potentially having to start, which removes him from the depth of the interior, right? So now you need a guy that can fill that void for you, enter in a guy you're very familiar with in Trent Scott. And added bonus, he can also still play tackle if you need to do that as well. So I think this could be another breadcrumb that maybe, just maybe, and I know most of you don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear it. I'm included in that. But maybe it's another sign that Nick Allegretti may be our starting center this year. I'm not saying, I'm just saying Trent Scott back on a 1-year deal. And again, he does not have to make the roster. I assume that we won't find out the money that's attached to this deal because it's not a significant enough deal that anybody really cares. So we won't get money that's attached to this deal, but I don't think it's going to be significant money enough to where he can't be cut, right? But Trent Scott probably is going to make this roster, if I had to guess. We'll see what they do in the draft. I think that's going to be more indicative of what will happen down the road, what they do in the draft and what they continue to do in free agency as they continue to fill out the rest of this roster. So Trent Scott back in the fold. And then, of course, the big news of the day, the news we were waiting on today. I don't think anything else is probably going to happen with the Commanders today. This was the one thing we were going to get. This from Adam Schefter. Commanders are signing former Bucs running back Rashad White to a 1-year deal per his agent. White now reunites with his college quarterback, Jaden Daniels. Reunited and it feels so good. Reunited and we're understood. Reunited. We knew this was going to happen. He wanted to be here. We wanted him here. I think Adam Peters used that to his advantage. While all the rest of the league was ravaging the running back market in day one of the tampering period, we just hung back because we knew we had this guy in our back pocket. So I think he went and focused on more deals that were of higher priority, knowing that Rashad White didn't want to go anywhere else and that we had mutual interest. So you just sit right there. We'll get to you. Wait in the lobby. We'll call you into the back when General Manager Adam Peters is ready for you. And he said, even though he was sitting out there first, this man was clamoring to be a part of the Commanders roster last year during the season. Okay? He was thirsty last year during the season. He's been waiting in the lobby, has Rashad White. He's been waiting in the Commanders lobby for about 4 months now. Meanwhile, guys that just got to the lobby not even a week ago, he's watching them get called to the back, and he's like, what the hell's going on? What is happening here? Charles Omenihu just got here. What do you mean he's going in the back right now? Eventually, Adam Peters was like, okay, is Rashad still out there? Send him in. And sent him in. I think the most intriguing part of this, it's just a one-year deal. I was expecting a 2-year, 2-year, $14 million deal, like they gave Austin Eckler, something like that. But, Eckler's was like 7.5 million or something like that. I thought it was going to be a little bit more. I think he was going to get 6.5 million, no more than 7. We don't know the specifics of the deal. That hasn't been released yet. We'll probably get those details a little bit later on down the line. I'm going to guess it's going to be somewhere in that $5 to $6.5 million range. So 1 year, 5 million, 1 year, 6 million, 1 year, 6.5. With incentives, it can get to 8, something like that. I just thought they would sign him to a 2-year deal. This makes me think even more that they really, really want Jeremiah Love. A 1-year deal. And yes, you can believe in Bill. They're probably going to bring back J-Mac. You got to do something else at running back, though. And what if Jeremiah Love isn't there? You can get by with the combination of Rashad White and Bill. Absolutely. J-Mac, you can throw in another young back, an undrafted. Right now, I'm going to be honest with you, the number at running back that makes the roster feels like it's 3. Unless, of course, you're able to somehow draft Jeremiah Love, and then the number becomes 4. Because I think they're going to keep J-Mac and they're going to put him on the active roster. So right now it feels like it's just Bill, J-Mac, and Rashad White. But a 1-year deal says to me, we're not locking ourselves in, which we know Adam Peters is really good and adept at not locking himself into deals and not paying a cent more than what he believes a guy is worth. But a 1-year deal to me signifies that we want to add a young player to this mix at the running back position. Adam Peters is not for adding a ton more older running backs. And 27, let's see how old he is. I think he's 27 point. He'll be 28 before the season starts, I believe. Let's see where he is. 27.1. So he just turned 27 years old. So he won't be 28 anytime soon. So he probably won't turn 28 until, my guess is, right after the season has met its conclusion. So he'll be 27 all this year. I thought that would have necessitated a 2-year deal, right? He won't be 30 until 3 years from now. But they went with the 1-year option, which tells me they don't want to lock themselves into Rashad White. They like him. They don't love him. And they really want to add a young back to the mix. So Jeremiah Love, I think this screams to me they really would love to draft him in the first round. Again, they're not in control of that. They don't hold the cards here. They're not trading up. Don't start asking that question. Well, do you think they would trade? No, they're not trading up for Jeremiah Love. All right. Either he falls to them or they pivot and draft someone else at another position and they keep it pushing. Like, their preference right now, based off of their movement and what this deal says to me, because again, I just was always under the assumption that he was going to get a 2-year deal here. Never crossed my mind that he would get a 1-year deal. Because if you sign him to a 2-year deal, you're good at running back for at least the next 2 seasons. Even if you don't love Bill, you can roll with Rashad White, find you another back next year and be good. Now that it's a 1-year deal, you have no choice but to find yourself another back. Really, this year you want to find a young back. So even if that young back isn't ready, he can get the experience that he needs, whether it's the practice squad or on the active roster, and then next year he can give you a little something, similar to what you did with Bill. The reason I think they're confident in Bill right now is because he played last year. He got a little taste of what it's like to be in the NFL. Yep, he had his growing pains, his ups, his downs, but he learned so much. There was so much Bill had to learn at the NFL level, and he got that experience on the job training last year. So they're more confident in what Bill can do this year. So if they don't get Jeremiah Love, They're cool with Bill being their lead back and Rashad White being, his counterpart in the backfield and having that 1-2 punch. But he's only here for a year. And it's not to say that they can't bring Rashad White back next year if they feel really good about what he did this year, similar to what they did with Bobby Wagner and Zach Ertz and, Marcus Mariota, et cetera, with all the guys that signed 1-year deals. They were impressed with them. Jeremy McNichols is another guy that they really turned out to love and said, you know what, let's run it back with that guy. They could do that with Rashad White next year, right? Oh, shit, Rashad was really good this year. He had 417 yards rushing and another, 422 yards receiving. We got to bring this guy back. Cool. But I think this screams to me, damn, we need to go get ourselves a running back in the draft. And I think they really, truly want Jeremiah Love. And again, the problem with this situation is they don't control anything with this. They don't control where Jeremiah Love ends up. And, the thing that scares me with Jeremiah Love, and I know I was told that I need to stop, saying that Jeremiah Love's going to get drafted ahead of us. Stop putting that in the atmosphere. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I always feel like being transparent with you guys is the most, it's the way that I operate. I don't know any other way to operate. I can't, putting injuries in the atmosphere is one thing. You don't have to do that. That's not something that needs to be done. Being truthful, being honest, being transparent is something that I live by. So I can't keep saying to you guys, I think he's going to fall to 7 if I don't really believe that. I can say, I hope he falls, and I'm going to continue to say that, but I'd be lying to myself if I said I think he's going to be there at 7. How is it that no other player, we haven't heard about an interview for any other player in the draft? Not one player have we heard is interviewing with the team in this early in the process. We haven't even gotten to pro days yet. Right after the combine, the Titans announced, hey, we meeting with Jeremiah Love. We still ain't heard no other team say they meeting with a player. Giants say, hey, we meeting with Jeremiah Love. Again, you can't make this shit up. If he gets past Tennessee, I'm not sure he gets past the Giants. Harbaugh, he probably loves Cam Scatterbo, but Cam Scatterbo is Cam Scatterbo. He ain't Jeremiah Love. So it's hard for me to envision him getting past 5 if he gets past 4. I still don't think he gets past 4. But if he gets past 4, how does he get past 5? If he gets past 5, then he's going to get to 7. Unless somebody trades in front of us with Cleveland to get him at 6. But it just feels like there's almost no way he gets to 7. And them signing Rashad White to a 1-year deal feels like a team that doesn't want to overinvest in a running back on the free agent market because they want to spend the pick on a running back in the draft. That's what that feels like to me. Don't overinvest in free agency because we're going to get us a young guy in the draft. We don't want to spend a bunch of money on a running back. Again, it's not a premium position. I didn't think he would spend big. We haven't been rumored to have been interested in any of these backs in free agency. Not a single one. This was the guy the entire time. They were always going to sign Rashad White. We weren't rumored to be interested in Kenneth Walker. I don't know. Maybe if Breece Hall would have hit the market, maybe they would have been interested in him. I doubt it because I don't see them wanting to invest that type of money at the running back position, but they would have been willing to spend. They would have been willing to spend a draft pick if Jeremiah Love were to get to 7, I believe. So that's what I kind of see from all of this. 1-year deal. It's going to be interesting to see what they do next. I'm really intrigued by what's next for the Commanders. I think Jeremy McNichols, we're going to hear that he has been re-signed sometime in the very near future. I'll give it another 48 hours. They're continuing to work on their own guys simultaneously as they sign outside free agents. Again, you see the Trent Scott signing that we just talked about. So they're going to continue to work on guys in-house. I think Jeremy McNichols is a guy that they also realize he's not going anywhere. He'll be here. We don't have to rush, but I expect them to bring him back at some point. And that'll give them 3 running backs on the roster, which, again, I think they're going to camp with more than just 3 running backs. And I don't think, and I could be wrong, this is an awful running back draft class. It's awful. So, again, this isn't the draft where you go, well, just get one in the 5th. No, this isn't last year's draft. You know, if you don't get Jeremiah Love at 7, you're probably not going to want to draft a running back this year. So maybe you get an undrafted. There were some intriguing guys that were on our practice squad throughout the course of the year, but they're no longer here. So that option that we could have maybe explored with one of the practice squad guys, most notably the Michigan running back, the former Michigan running back that we had on the practice squad for a good chunk of the year, and then at the end he got snatched up. We don't have anybody on the practice squad that you could say, well, what about this guy? That doesn't exist. So not a lot at the running back position right now. We know that they really like Bill. Do they love him? I don't know. They clearly don't love Rashad White. That's for sure, certain, because you don't give a guy that you love a 1-year deal. So they clearly don't love Rashad White. Maybe they do love Jeremiyah Love, but you can love him, but you may not be able to have him. So we may have to love him from afar. So we'll see what happens. But this was inevitable. This was absolutely going to happen. It needed to happen because there just isn't anything else left in free agency at the running back position after Rashad White. And so this had to happen. Although we knew it was going to happen, you feel more safe and secure that it now has happened. It's the same way I think most of us feel about Brandon Aiyuk. We know it's going to happen, but until it actually does, it's a lot like, you know, you're getting that check. You know, you're getting that money. You know that money's going to hit your account, but you can't spend any of it, and you're not as comfortable until you're able to open that app, look at your account, and see that money physically in your account. That's when you breathe that sigh of relief, like, okay, all right, now I can start maneuvering. I can start paying these bills. I can start doing the things I need to do, right? Until that money hits, there's a little bit of anxiousness. You know it's coming. I earned it. I know it's going to get here, but I still need to see it to know that it's here, right? Same thing with Brandon Aiyuk. Same thing with Rashad White. Like, we knew these guys, particularly Rashad White, he's going to be here. He's going to be a Commander. Can you just get it done, please? This one isn't like yesterday where you were all excited. This one is more like Odafe, more of relief. They got a guy, right? That's how a lot of us felt when Odafe was signed in day 1 of the tampering period. Oh, my God. Thank you, Adam Peters, right? It was relief. Yesterday was pure excitement, jubilation. Like, we were surprised. We were excited. Guys we wanted, they actually went out and got. Today was more of relief. Like, okay, all right, good. We can relax now. You know, regardless of what else they do with the running back position, if you go into the season with Bill and Rashad White as your 2 running backs, you're straight. We're good. We can get by with that. Just to get by, just to get by, just to get by, just to get. You can get by with that, right? They're going to add a couple of guys around those 2, but you can get by with that. The next domino for us to, you know, kind of exhale is, can we get Brandon Aiyuk? Because the receiver position looks real sketchy right now. You know, it's really sketchy right now. So we keep talking about Brandon Aiyuk, wanting him on the roster, getting him here because we need him. It's Terry McLaurin and the others right now, which is where we were last year, and we saw how that shit went. So you need to add another receiver in addition to Brandon Aiyuk, I believe. And again, that could take place in the draft. This is a deep wide receiver draft class, so you never know what they decide to do there. So this one is more relief. Glad he got it done. And so I think the next order of business, add a receiver if you can. I still think you need to add another corner. Those are the two priorities right now, along with center, but I just don't think you're going to get anything in the free agent market at center. I think you have to draft a center. So I've kind of removed center from the equation for me as far as center is concerned. Like, you got to get something in the draft now. Everything else, you can still find something at that position in free agency, corner, wide receiver. You can find something salvageable. So I think those are the two next dominoes to fall for this team as we continue on in trying to rebuild this roster from basically the ground up. But this was a move that was to be expected. You're excited that Adam Peters got it done. And again, when we expect something from him, he usually delivers. We expected Rashad White. We expect Brandon Aiyuk. He's delivered on Rashad White. I think he's going to deliver on the other half of this equation as well. Jaden is reunited with his former college teammate, and we'll see how all of this kind of fits together. I was going to push back this show because I was listening to some of the press conferences. What I'm going to ultimately do is I'll come back later tonight and talk to you about what was said. So they're having all the guys that have been signed just do a quick Zoom. So I've already listened to Tim Settle. I listened to Marcus Mariota. Chiga Okonkwo just spoke. Amik Robertson was speaking as I got on the stream with you guys. So I'm going to go watch all of them. I assume that we'll hear from Adafi Owe. I'm going to assume Nick Cross is going to speak. I've got to assume that we're going to hear from Leo Chanel, that we're going to hear from all of these guys that they've brought back into the building. So we'll probably hear from Trent Scott. I don't care. I don't think you do either. Look at me. I actually listened to Jake Moody in his press conference. I felt like I wanted to hear what he had to say. The kickers are so bland. My God. The kickers are just happy to be here. Good for him, and I hope he takes advantage of this opportunity. But I listened to Jake Moody, and we're going to have a host of other guys. They've signed 8 free agents from outside of the building. 8. You want to talk about activity and high levels of it? No one's more active than us. And we knew that because we don't have anybody on the roster. We didn't have anybody on the roster going into this process. So nobody's been more active than the Commanders. And yet, nobody has more cap space than us. That's, again, this is the beauty of Adam Peters. We have signed the most free agents. And unlike past years where we've been the most active and we've signed 15 guys and 8 to 9 of them were one-year deals, these are multi-year contracts for the most part. Nick Cross is 2 years. Adafi Owe is 4 years. Leo Chanel and Chiga Okonkwo are 3-year deals. Tim Settle, also a 3-year deal. Like, these are multi-year contracts. These are not one-year prove-it deals. We only signed 2 of those. One here with Rashad White, and I don't know if this is necessarily a prove-it deal as much as it is. He's a placeholder, right? He's not here for the long haul. And then the other one is Kayvon Chason. That is a prove-it deal. And he may not even prove it to us. He may prove it to the rest of the league. They may have no intentions of signing Kayvon Chason long-term here. Because I don't know how much they're trying to invest in the edge rusher position. They already gave Adafi Owe basically $100 million, right? Let's just call it $70 million. He had $68 million guaranteed. They already gave him $70 million. I can't envision them next year saying, okay, we just gave Adafi Owe $70 million guaranteed the year before. We're going to go ahead and give you, $45 million guaranteed next year because you just balled out for us. I can't see that happening. And that's over $100 million invested to the defensive end position by itself when you got a Jaden Daniels extension coming up. That's just not happening. I think they're going to try to flip Kayvon Chason for a compensatory pick next year. But in the meantime, while we're trying to build this into a winner and into being consistent and being competitive, Kayvon can help us in 2026. So anyway, I digress. They're going to have Kayvon Chason probably going to step up to the mic. And I'm going to try to consume as many of those press conferences as I can. And then I'm going to come to you guys later on tonight, and we're just going to talk about what those guys said. Probably going to get me excited depending on, how these guys are. If they're bland and they're, whatever, then it is what it is. But if, somebody's talking with that talk, right? And we've been bamboozled before by words, right? I remember, I'll never forget Doc Walker, soiling himself over what was the edge rusher from Alabama, the second round pick? What was his name? Oh my God, he was so ass. Ryan Anderson. I remember Doc Walker soiling himself listening to Ryan Anderson talk about how, he wanted to destroy the man in front of him, and he don't worry about combine because he didn't test well and all this. I whooped the guy's ass in front of me and this, that, and the third. And Doc Walker was all giddy, and then he turned out to be shitty. So you don't want to get too high off of these press conferences. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and we'll get out of here. I want to talk you guys to death. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Ree writes, he's a good back, Lou. You will get frustrated with how slow he is. He doesn't have breakaway speed. Open fields close a lot because of that. But he's a good player, great pass catcher, and aggressive. That's what we're looking for. We're not looking for him to be the speed element. Like, we've always had slow backs here. So that's not going to make us any difference, Ree. Austin Eckler wasn't outrunning anybody, and none of the backs we've had here recently are outrunning anybody. Bill is the first running back we've had with any kind of speed of whatsoever, right? Like, seeing him break that run against the Cowboys on Christmas Day was like a sight for sore eyes, because we just don't have running backs here in Washington that are able to outrun angles and, win foot races to the end zone. But we're not asking Rashad White to do that. We're basically asking him to come in here and fill the Austin Eckler role, which is pass protect, catch it out of the backfield, be a change of pace. But we know he's not going to hit the home run, and that's not why we brought him here. We brought him here to do everything else, basically. So we're excited about the addition, and we appreciate your insight as to what he will be here in Washington. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, White will give you absolutely all he's got. He plays with a lot of heart. He's just not fast. And again, that's what we're looking for. We want guys that play hard. We want guys that play physically, and he does. I always felt like he didn't get enough opportunities once Bucky Irvin hit the scene. Felt like they were so all in on Bucky that they forgot that Rashad White can also be a very productive running back. There were games where Rashad White, the Thursday night game against the Falcons comes to mind, where he breaks off a 20-yard run very early in the game, and I'm thinking, oh, Rashad's going to have himself a really solid game alongside Bucky. And that was the only carry he ever got. I think that might have been one of the few times he actually touched the ball in that game. And that run came in like the first quarter, that 20-yard run. And they just kept spoon feeding Bucky Irving. And I'm like, you do know that you can put Rashad in and actually give him the football too, And what's crazy is that I felt like they actually liked Sean Tucker more than they liked Rashad White at times. It was weird. You'd get in the red zone and they bypass Rashad White altogether and go straight to Sean Tucker. And it almost like they were forcing Sean Tucker to score the touchdown. It was weird. The Bucs running back patterns last year were super weird to me. But again, maybe you could shed some light on that. I just was always confused as to how they were rotating their backs last season. But I love it. I love Rashad White, and I think he's going to be a really good fit here in Washington. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, if Love and Styles are gone at 7, would you take Downs or trade back for a top flight cornerback? We still drafting a wide receiver, cornerback, center, and cornerback regardless. Hit that like. I think as we look at the positions that we need, I think you just hit 4 of them right on the head. We got 6 draft picks. So there's only one position right now I can assure you we're drafting this year. Maybe two. There's two positions I can assure you we're drafting this year based off of the activity and what's left in free agency. We're drafting a cornerback. We're drafting a center. Those two feel like non-negotiables right now. Everything else is up for debate. Will they draft a running back? I can't tell you. I wouldn't unless you're going Jeremiyah Love at 7. This just isn't the draft to invest a draft pick in, right? Receiver makes a lot of sense. It would have made a lot more sense in the 3rd round at 71 if you didn't have to draft a center there. And maybe, just maybe, the best option is a receiver, and then you could just draft a center in the 5th round. And again, can you find a 5th round center to start? Absolutely, you can. Absolutely, you can find a 5th round center that can start for you. Is it ideal? No, it's not. But you can find a 5th round center. The best center that we've had here in the last decade that was homegrown product, if I'm not mistaken, you can fact check me on this. I don't know this for a fact, was a 5th round pick, I think. And I'm talking about Chase Rouillet out of Wyoming. I think he was a 5th round pick. So you can find a starting center in this league in the 5th round. But they're going to have to draft a center. And I think they're going to have to draft a cornerback. They may have to draft a wide receiver too. So I don't know if they're going to draft a running back. That's the only position that you've mentioned that I don't know if we're going to draft or not. Again, unless Jeremiyah Love is there at 7, then obviously drafting a running back makes a ton of sense. As far as 7 is concerned, if Love and Styles aren't available, I would probably say you have to take a look at what's there, right? Because if those two aren't there, somebody else is, whether that's Bain, whether that's Bain and Downs would probably be the two that are left, right? If Love is gone, because Reese and Bailey are gone, Styles and Love are gone. That's 4 guys. We know Mendoza's going. That would be 5. And then I guess you could throw in like a receiver or a tackle to be the 6th guy in front of us. So that would leave you with Down or Bailey could be, or Bain could be one of those guys that goes, and then that gives you your 6. And so you would be left with Downs basically as the only guy remaining. That would make a ton of sense for you there at 7 if you wanted to go on the defensive side of the football. Again, you could go corner. I think they got their starters. If you draft a guy at 7, whomever you draft at 7, we have to understand that whomever you draft at 7 is starting day 1. If that's not a guy you're sitting on the bench and letting him develop. They have their 2 starting corners right now on the roster, whether you like it or not. Mikey Sainristil is starting at 1 boundary corner, and Trey Amos is starting at the other. They're not drafting and again, Mikey still has 2 more years left on his rookie contract, and Trey Amos has 3. So it's not like, well, you can draft Mansour Delane and, Mikey will be gone after this year. No. Mikey's got 2 years left. Amik Robertson has 2 years left. Trey Amos has 3 years left. They're not drafting a corner in the 1st round. They're not doing that. I'll just be honest with you. Fully transparent. They're not doing that. So receiver is definitely in play. Running back is definitely in play. Safety is definitely in play. Linebacker is definitely in play. Edge rusher is definitely in play. I do not see cornerback in any way, shape, or form being an option in the 1st round. I could be wrong, but that's just my mindset. And that's how you got to look at things when you start thinking about the draft, right? Club 100 TV. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, I hear Aiyuk has a bonus by April 1st. I don't know what the situation is. That's the kind of thing, though. And again, I can't confirm nor deny that, but that's the kind of thing that's going to get him released. That's what we need. We need some type of money that the 49ers are absolutely not going to pay. That's what we need. That's what's going to get him cut. I've been talking about that. That's the thing that'll get him cut. So I my fingers are crossed that you're right, that he's got some sort of bonus coming up. That's what's going to, they're not paying him another red cent. They're not giving him any money. They want to bleed him dry and they want to be as petty as possible. But the one thing they are not going to do is pay him any money. So they've taken his guarantees back. They're not giving him one red cent. So if there's anything that he's owed by still being on the roster, that's when action will take place. So let's hope you're right, that there's a bonus somewhere in that neighborhood. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. Video channel writes, Lou, video channel. They calling us the West Africa Commanders. Oh, hey, oh, yeah. Oh, hey, oh, yeah. Oh, hey, oh, yeah. Oh, hey, oh, yeah. Hey, West Africa Commanders has a great ring to it, especially if these boys go out and hoop, man. You can call us whatever you like. You can call us whatever you like. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, my guy. JP writes, Lou, good to see you as always. Likewise, JP, always great to hear from you. Love the Rashad White signing, and Aiyuk will be next once he gets released. I also think Washington might add another receiver and cornerback. Those are the two positions that, to me, are left to add in free agency. You're not adding a center in free agency. There's just nothing left. You could add depth, a guy to come and compete in camp, that sort of thing, but not a guy that we look at and say, oh, no, he's definitely on the roster. That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. So, as far as I'm concerned, cornerback and wide receiver still have, there's still some meat on the bone at those two positions. It's scarce, right? You might have to bite the bristle, right? But it's still some meat on the bone at those positions. I think you can add something and still feel good about it. Art by Rapid. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Rapid writes, after seeing a Meek press conference, he got me hyped. I can't wait to watch. He's a dog, and I told you he's got that short man complex. He's been told his entire life he's too short to do this, he's too short to do that. And even being in the league, oh, you got to go inside. You're a nickel. You're too short to play boundary. He just plays with a chip, man. So I can't wait to watch all of these press conferences to see the mindset and the mentality of these players. I don't have to worry about, are we getting fleeced here? Like I just brought up the Alabama edge rusher in the second round that was asked. We know these commodities. These are known commodities. So unlike guys that are drafted that you don't know what they're going to do and they talk a good game, but you're not sure if they're going to be able to back it up. I know what Amik Robertson is. His game speaks for itself. I know what Leo Chanel is. His game speaks for itself. I know what Tim Settle is. I know what Odafe Owe is. I know what Caleb Von Chason is. I've seen their work. So if they come out here talking that talk, I don't have to wonder if they're going to be able to back it up. I've seen them do it before. There's evidence of that. So I'm excited to hear these dudes talk they talk. So I can't wait to watch. Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lang Hughes writes, I think it's a coin flip with Love. GMs overthink value. I mean, you could be right. I don't think this is one of those situations. I think last year with the Boise State running back that the Raiders took in the top 5, you could overthink it and flip a coin there. Will they take Genty? Will they not take Genty? He was one of those ones where, this Heisman Trophy type resume, how fast is he? Because he didn't run at the combine. He ran his pro day. He ran fast enough, et cetera, et cetera. He was like a big, one big muscle when you saw him at his pro day when he was working out for scouts, and he passed the eye test. And so you could argue like, yeah, okay, Genty is like that. There's no argument here. This is universal that Jeremiyah Love is one of them ones at the running back position. They see generational talent here. I don't know if everyone agreed on Genty being a potential generational talent. They see generational talent with Jeremiyah Love. I don't remember where Daniel Jeremiah had Ashton Genty ranked in his draft class. And that might be more of an indictment on this draft class in terms of the talent where Love is rated, but Love is the second best player on Daniel Jeremiah's board. You know, Fernando Mendoza is his number one player, and Love is his second. And so I'm not sure where Genty would have been in this year's draft or where he was last year, but he wasn't the number one or number two player, I don't think, in that draft last year. Love is different. And I don't think they're going to overthink this one. I don't think the whole running back value conversation comes into play here. I think they just look at the player and say, is he a great fit for what we're trying to do or not? If he is, we're going to draft him because he's going to be tremendous. So I hope you're right that they overthink it. Oh, he's a running back. You don't want to draft a running back this high. I hope that's the case. Please, by all means. I just don't think it's going to apply to Jeremiyah Love. T-Money, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. T-Money writes, hey, Lou. What's up, T-Money? Great show last night. Man, it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed ourselves. What are the odds of us trading up to get Jeremiyah Love? Like the video. Slim and none. Slim and none. I won't say it's 0%, but I'll say it's 1%. I'll say it's 0.001%. I highly doubt that, again, for the same reason I said you can't trade for Brian Thomas Jr., for the same reason that I've talked about how vital it is to build through the draft and that we've had 2 drafts in a row. This will be the second, assuming that we don't trade back and acquire more picks, which I don't see us being able to do. Assuming that we don't do that, you're going to have your second draft in a row where you've only had 6 players. You can't keep doing that if you want to build this the right way. Meaning you can't keep giving up draft picks. I don't see Adam Peters being aggressive and moving up to draft Jeremiyah Love because the price goes up even more exponentially as you go into the top 5. So you're giving up next year's second round pick to go up 3 spots, 2 spots. And you're giving up something this year more likely than not. And I just can't see them doing that. Doesn't make any sense. Either he falls to you or you just roll with Bill and Rashad White. That's why you signed Rashad White. So that you're good either way. If he falls to you, great. We got to steal. Turn the card in. If he doesn't, we got Bill and Rashad White. We'll roll and then we'll revisit the running back position next year. We'll revisit this conversation next year. Y'all heard the man. Like the video. If you haven't already done so, click that button. Doesn't cost you a thing, but it helps this channel grow exponentially. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also subscribe for more great content. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jonathan writes, I want to draft Notre Dame wide receiver Jaden Greathouse. He can run. He can run, but he's not the Notre Dame wide receiver in this draft that, you know, everyone's talking about. And I thought he actually had a pretty solid day at the combine. I don't know why his name is escaping me. Let me look up in my notes because Malachi Fields. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name, but Malachi Fields is the guy that everybody's talking about in this particular draft, and he's got tremendous size. He had a great Senior Bowl, made one of the better catches of the Senior Bowl, and so it'll be interesting to see where some of these Notre Dame players go. I'll be honest with you, Notre Dame has not been the place you want to go for receivers. Our receivers have come in the league and flopped. I can't tell you the last time a Notre Dame receiver came in the league and actually had success. You probably got to go all the way back to Golden Tate. Probably got to go all the way back to Golden Tate. We do not do NFL receivers. We do NFL tight ends. We do offensive linemen. We'll even do the occasional defensive lineman. You can get a solid Notre Dame linebacker. We thrive at the safety position, but you can't go to Notre Dame for a wide receiver. You can't go to Notre Dame for a wide receiver. So don't scout the helmet. That's what they always tell you. Scout the player, don't scout the helmet. But there's certain biases that I absolutely have. I can't help it. I'm human. And Notre Dame wide receivers is definitely one of them. We do not produce big-time wide receivers. Brenton Settle. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Brenton Settle writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Brenton? 100% not going to happen. But if Vikings offered Jefferson for our 7th and next year's first with that loaded draft class, would you take it? You just argued against, unless you're a Vikings fan, you just argued for the point of not taking the deal. No, I wouldn't take the deal, first and foremost. Justin Jefferson is, if not the highest paid wide receiver in football, he's the second highest paid wide receiver in football. I think he was the highest paid, and then his buddy from LSU, Jamar Chase, overtook him. And so he's making every bit of, close to $40 million, if not $40 million a year. I'm good. Really, I truly am. I'm good. So no, I wouldn't. I'm not interested in trading for Justin Jefferson. And I'm clearly, as I've said a million times, not interested in trading away draft picks. That is how you build your roster. Trading for veteran players who are making copious amounts of money and doing it at the expense of cheaper labor for longer contracts is idiotic, and it's how you destroy the foundation of what we're trying to currently build, which is smart, fiscally smart, economically sound contracts that have length to them, which mirror and mimic drafting young players. These contracts that we've signed guys to, the Leo Chanel contract, the Chiga Okonkwo contract, the, Nick Cross contract, these are all very economically sound contracts that mimic rookie deals. You're getting young players. Nick Cross, 24. Chiga Okonkwo, 26. Leo Chanel, 25. Young players coming off of rookie deals on very, very efficient deals that mimic that of first-round picks, second-round picks. That is phenomenal work. Again, I can't stress this enough. Find a team that has been more active than the Commanders in free agency. I'll wait. There's no one who has signed more players to this point. Yet, we still have more cap space than anybody in the league. It's not because we haven't been active. It's not because we're handing out a bunch of one-year deals to aging veterans. It's because we've been the smartest about how we've gone about approaching free agency and how we've handed out money and who we've handed it to. And if you're going to continue to build this the right way, this is what has to be done, and you have to stop trading away draft picks. Adam Peters is no fool. He saw an opportunity to get better with Laramie Tunsil. He took it. And I'd do it again. He said he'd do it again. And none of us regret that trade. We all regret the Marshawn Lattimore trade, but we were all for it when it happened. You can't look back on it now and say we shouldn't have done that, because we all wanted it in the moment. We all thought we had a chance to do something, and he did too. He traded a 5th-round pick for Debo. I'd do it again. But the time is now to start looking towards the future, and the future is draft picks. So you can't give those away. So I'm not trading for an established NFL veteran, even the likes of a Justin Jefferson, who's probably the best receiver in football, because how about I try to find my own Justin Jefferson? I know it's not easy. They don't grow on trees. But I'd rather take a crack at it myself with on a rookie contract than to just trade for Justin Jefferson. We're not in a position where a Justin Jefferson may pull you over the top and you may win a Super Bowl. We're trying to build this the right way. Often fans want to take a shortcut. Understandably so. But we found out the hard way last year. Ain't no shortcuts in this thing. Not if you're trying to be a triple P. Ain't no shortcuts to being a triple P. We found that out the hard way last year. We learned our lesson, though. Our general manager learned his lesson, and you're seeing the lessons learned being executed here and displayed in these first 4 days of free agency, roughly. The tampering period in the first 2 days of the actual new league year in free agency. These 4 days have shown you he's learned his lesson all right. He's learned his lesson all right. Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Also, there's been more 30 visits. We met with Lemon. So I haven't heard anything. Again, but I'm not even following that stuff very closely right now. So I can't say what's what. I just know the ones that have come across my timeline have only been Jeremiyah Love. That's not to say that other teams in the top 5 haven't met with prospects. That's just the one that has come out. So, at some point, I'm going to turn my attention solely to the draft. That's going to probably happen here in the next week or two. And it's just going to be all draft all the time for me. It's going to be nothing else but draft, more draft. And at that point, I'm going to come at you with, hey, these are the top 30 visits the Commanders have had, and we're going to stay on top of those. And we're going to talk about, what does this mean? Look at the positions, how many of these they talk to. We're going to get over analytical. We always do here on this channel. So, Makai Lemon makes a ton of sense. We need a receiver. I don't think he's in the range of 7. I don't think that's the guy you take at 7. But you've always heard me say this. I'm going to continue to say this. Get your guy when you feel the need to get your guy. He's probably more of if they trade back. That would be more of a selection for that. Ed said it last night. I agree with Ed. I really don't see anybody wanting to come up in this draft. I don't see anybody wanting to come up in this draft. And if somebody does want to come up, it's for a player that we should be staying right where we are to take. Right? I don't see someone coming up for a Jalen Tyson at 7. They can wait, trade up to 9 or 10 to get Jalen Tyson. They don't have to trade all the way up to 7 to do that. If someone's trying to come up to 7, it's for a David Bailey who's fallen or an Arvell Reese who's fallen. Well, shit, we need to take that guy. It's for a Ruben Bain. We may need to take that guy. Right? If somebody's trying to come up to 7, it's for a reason. And we probably need to stand pat for that very same reason. Like, nah, we're good. Thanks, but no thanks. We'll just take this guy right here. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hey, thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, hey, Lou, not to be a downer here, but I know you're a fellow Monarch. There was a shooting today at ODU. Gunman is dead along with 1 victim. Sad world. I had not heard that. That is wild. I hope everybody else is good. You hate to see that kind of violence, especially on these universities. I don't understand why, these types of public, acts of violence tend to always find themselves onto college campuses in particular. This sounds like it might have been more maybe premeditated, and at least there aren't 12 casualties or, and I can't say he might have shot multiple people, but only 1 person passed away. But, we've seen instances where they just wanted to get 1 person, they got that person, but you're on a public, campus. It's a threat and a danger to everyone else that's there. So it's a sad, it's a sad situation all the way around. Prayers to all those impacted by that tragedy, man. I didn't hear about it. So you're breaking news for me, man. That sucks. It really, truly does. It is a sad world. Video channel, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Bryce Huff just retired, 27 years old. Yeah, it was probably time. You know, he was never the same after the injuries. And he had a great year with the Jets right before free agency. Was able to pull the wool over the Eagles' eyes. They messed around and gave him some good money in free agency, only to find out that shit, he ain't really like that. And yeah, he probably just was like, man, I'm sick of this shit. You know, and football is one of those sports, and really sports in general, but football more so than any one of these sports because of the physical nature of it. You just get tired, bro. You get tired. Football is such a grind. It's such a taxing sport on your body. Dudes could play basketball till they're 50, right? Then when you're done, you play pickup basketball till you're 70. Like you don't ever stop playing basketball when you're a hooper, right? Baseball players can play till they're 45. Like literally, pitchers pitch until they're 40, into their 40s. You can be a designated hitter. You don't play the field. If you're a really good hitter, you play well into your 40s. You don't have to be in the most tremendous shape. We've seen baseball players come in all shapes and sizes. You can play baseball after you're done. You can still swing the bat. You can still throw the ball. Football is a sport. Once you're done, you're done. Your body is shot. It's beat to hell when you're done. And when you're done, you don't want to do anything else football related. You've done it for 10 years, 7 years, whatever. Your body's shot to hell. And some of these guys, they're in the league for 4 or 5 years, and they've already had 3, 4 different surgeries, and it's just a lot, man. And you think about all of the physical taxing that takes place. How about the mental toll that it takes on your body? Because you get hurt, that rehabilitation process, it is brutal mentally. You listen to a guy like Tyrese Halliburton talk about how, and I know this is a different sport, but just how long and how grueling of a process his rehabilitation was, how he gained all of that weight, how he was basically in isolation. No, because when you get hurt, and you see this in the NFL a ton, you're not with the team. You're by yourself. It's a lonely process. And then you start questioning, well, will I ever be what I once was? Will I be able to continue to earn? You start self-doubt. All this bullshit creeps into your mind. It's a tough. We just saw a player take his own life at 25 years old because of injuries. His career never taking off, and he just couldn't deal with the constant injuries and never being able to do the thing that he's been training to do his entire life. So I can understand a guy like Bryce Huff who's just over it at 27. Renell Winchester, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Renell writes, Rashad White had a 987 Ross score, HTTC. That might have been true when he came out of college some, 5 years ago or so. Now, that athleticism ain't hitting like that. You already heard our guy Reese say, hey, he's tough as nails. He plays hard. He catches it out of backfield. You're going to love him for all of that. But he ain't fast. I've watched Rashad White. I can confirm he's not fast. So athletically, he can make you miss. He's got all of the ability to make you miss in a phone booth. He's got the wiggles and the ability to break a dude down and undress him in space. He can stick his foot in the ground and make somebody miss. From an agility standpoint, he's probably still got all of that stuff. But that dude ain't outrunning anybody in a foot race. So that Ross score probably was indicative of when he first came out. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, AP is about to look like Thanos collecting Infinity Stones the way he's collecting Jaden's former teammates. Aiyuk soon, and then BTJ Neighbors in the future. I could see Neighbors, but here's the thing. The Giants aren't going to let Malik Neighbors leave. they're not going to get BTJ because they're going to have to trade for him, and I don't see them doing that. But Neighbors is interesting because we know they're besties. They love each other, and they would love to play with one another on the same team. And I think that because the Giants have the final say with the franchise tag, they're not going to let Malik Neighbors leave. So we know when Malik Neighbors was drafted, he was not thrilled about being a Giant. We've all laughed about the draft video when he was sitting there and he got the phone call. He looked so unenthused about the news he was going to New York. But and then they've been asked ever since he's gotten there. And so I'm pretty sure he would love to get out of there, but he doesn't control that. You know, they're going to pick up his fifth-year option. They're going to slap the franchise tag on him. They're going to try to get a long-term deal done because he's a dog. You know, he's like that, and they know it, and they're not going to let him walk. So I can't see him playing with any of his past teammates other than Brandon Aiyuk. And Aiyuk had to go through extreme measures to get to this point. He has no business being available right now or about to be available. He had to literally do some uncommon, uncanny, unbelievable, and unethical shit to get to where he's about to be, right? But I can't see the other two ended up here in Washington. But hey, nothing wrong with dreaming. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Rashad White got himself into trouble because he was being combative about his usage. I think Sean Tucker is but for what it's worth. Maybe, and you know what? I can't speak to what he said if he was being disrespectful in the way that he communicated his message to the staff, but I don't blame him. I mean, he wasn't getting enough touches. The usage rate was way down this year. I was so shocked watching Bucks games. Like, what are they doing with Rashad White? Because it's not like Bucky Irvin was healthy this year. It's not like he was as dynamic as he was his rookie season. Bucky you could tell, was dealing with some injuries. He wasn't as crisp as he was his rookie season. He wasn't as dynamic and so they could have used a little bit more Rashad White. And maybe he rubbed some people the wrong way, but I'm like, Rashad's not getting touches at the expense of Sean Tucker getting more touches. What the hell are we doing here? So it was weird. The whole situation was weird. And I always was just floored at how they would use them in the red zone. Like, they get inside the 5, they get inside the 10. Oh, it's Sean Tucker time. Like, Rashad ain't touching the end zone if we have anything to say about it. You ain't touching the end zone, bro. It's either going to be Bucky or it's going to be Sean Tucker. You ain't getting the ball when we get down here. I was just like, this shit is weird. But again, it is what it is. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, this team can't quit Sean Tucker even though he's rotten ass. I don't get it. And I think they if I'm not mistaken, he was a restricted free agent and they tendered him, right? They brought him back basically. So yeah, I guess you'll be enjoying more Sean Tucker this year. Sounds like you're not the biggest fan, but yeah, he'll be more Sean Tucker to come for you. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, David Bailey, the edge from Texas Tech, will be our pick at 15. Put a stack on it. Ree, have you not been paying attention to this draft? Have you not been paying attention to this draft? David Bailey isn't getting out of the top 3 picks, my man. If he's not a Jet, he'll be gone at 3. Okay. You have no shot. You got no chance. That's what you got to get David Bailey. They're probably lighting you up in the chat as we speak for saying that. You might have been joking. Don't put a stack on it though. Okay. Let me save you the trouble and the money. Don't put a stack on it. He's not getting out of the top 5. Okay. Don't put a stack on it. Chilled guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chilled Guy, writes, hello, Lou. What's up, Chilled Guy? Looks like it takes more than 2 hours to put a team together. Love this fan base. So passionate, LOL. I love them too. Thanks for continuing great content. Thank you for continuing support and be here and be a part of the discussion, man. Can't thank you enough. So shout out to you. But you know, you got to love the fans, man. Like Rio said, it's short for fanatic. I don't always agree with the take of, you know, fanatic, your fan is short for fanatic, and sometimes we're emotional, that yada yada yada. I get all of that, but a lot of times, you know, people cross the line, they say crazy shit, and just because you're a fan doesn't excuse you to be able to say crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that, but you know, it is what it is. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, Al-Quadin Muhammad is a buck, Lou. Do you know anything about him? Yeah. He's a good, solid football player. He's getting a little long in the tooth, but he's a big, tall, long edge. I look at him as a skinnier, less effective version of JPP. Very similar build. Not as obviously, you know, JPP was a legit 270. This guy's probably 250, 255. He's grown. He's probably somewhere in that 255 range now at this point of his career. You get bigger, you put muscle on. As you get older, you get stronger. So he's a little bit bigger. He came into the league, you know, skinny as hell, but he's still very effective. You know, he'll probably get you about 4 sacks, you know, this season. You know, solid against the run, not great. Solid against the run, but he can definitely be a guy that can be a rotational depth piece on your defensive line as a guy that can get to the quarterback. So he'll be solid for you. Skins again. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Skins again writes, Lou, we need you to stop being the voice of reason with J Love. Speak it into existence and it will be. I probably need to. It's hard, man. It's hard for me to do that, because I know in my heart of hearts that he's not going to be there, but maybe I need to just start speaking it into existence. What the hell, right? You only live once. He'll be there at 7. We'll get him. That's the spirit. Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lang Hughes writes, I'm a take guy personally, think he will be a stud. You're not alone. There are a number of people that I've talked to over the last few days that believe he's going to be the pick at 7. He should be the pick at 7, and that he could be the perfect segue from Terry to, you know, him. That's the number 1 wide receiver here in Washington. And that may all turn out to be the actual factuals. I am not the most massive Carnell Tate fan, but I do think he's talented. Absolutely. So, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see what he ultimately turns out to be. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jonathan, double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, sorry, Lou, I wanted him around the 5th to 7th round. Oh, he'll be there. He'll be there. He'll probably be a 7th round pick, if I had to guess. Yeah, that's a late round draft pick. So, you know, that's one of them guys you take a flyer on. It's one of those guys you take a flyer on. Jonathan, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jonathan writes, is running back Love a power back? I think we need a 4th down power back. No, he's not a power back. He can do it all. He can run in between the tackles, but, you know, his superpower is speed, elusiveness, the ability to hit the home run, can catch it out of the backfield. Like, he was an elite returner at Notre Dame as well. Like, he's a jack of all trades. He can do so many different things. Yeah, he can run with power, but he isn't the big physical 220-pound back, if that's what you're looking for, and that's not what he is. No, he's not 225 pounds. That was his teammate, Jadarian Price. That's the one you're looking for if you're looking for a physical power back, but that's not what Love is. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, I was all for Hendrickson because we needed a defensive end, but that contract he got from Baltimore, nah. But first of all, he wanted more than that. And you sounded like you were willing to pay that, JP. I don't know what you thought he was going to get. You wanted him last year. The contract last year would have been way more than the one this year. And like, what did you think he was going to sign a 3-year, $60 million contract? That wasn't what he was looking for. That's not what he was going to get. Now, I'm what I was really interested to see was what would have happened if Baltimore didn't swoop back in. Because the reason he took so long is because he found out the hard way that his market wasn't anywhere near what he thought it was going to be. I wonder if he was looking at, because I think one of the hangups for him was he wanted the length, right? He wanted a 3-year deal. And a lot of teams were like, bro, I got 2 for you. I don't got 3 for you. And so I think what did Baltimore give him? Didn't they give him a 4-year deal? Right? I think they gave him a 4-year deal, which we know it's bullshit. That deal is probably 2 years, 3 max. It ain't 4. That's for damn sure. It's probably more like 2 years. But whatever. Nobody was giving him 4 years, but Baltimore. 3 years was a stretch. He probably was looking at a bunch of 2-year deals. Somebody would have gave him a 3-year deal. But most teams probably wanted him for a 2-year deal, and he wanted the long-term deal. So I would have loved to have seen what the shit looked like before Baltimore swooped in. We'll never know now. But it was going to be pricey. I don't know what you thought you were going to get him for. You know? Not going to lie, those Phillips and Linderbaum deals are gross. Are they? Like, glad my general manager, and again, we don't know. He was in on Linderbaum. We don't know what he was willing to what lengths he was willing to go to, how much he was willing to spend on top. I can tell you, Adam Peters wasn't trying to spend $27 million a year on a center. I don't know if he was willing to go, to 24 or to 23. When the highest paid center in the league is making 19 in Kansas City and Creed Humphrey, ain't no way I'm jumping up $5-6 million a year, let alone $8 million a year to get the deal done, more than the highest paid guy currently at the position. That I'm still blown by those deals, bro. The Phillips deal is crazy, but it's an edge rusher. People lose their mind over edge rushers. I get that. This is a center we talking about. Daniel Pitts, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Daniel writes, Lou, I don't know if I see Love falling out of the top 4 picks, but I also can see the Titans adding to that pass rush, either getting Bain or Bailey. I can see that too. But then does he get past the Giants at 5? Of course he does. I've been told I need to speak it into existence. He's going to fall to the Commanders at 7. But I don't know if I see it happening either. But I could absolutely see. Remember who the Titans head coach is. But also take a look at what they did in free agency. They added a ton of defense. Not one running back. I wonder why. They did add a receiver. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. If Bailey gets to them at 4, I do think they have to consider that. They could fall in love with Bain. That's not out of the realm of possibility. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, Raiders and Titans were literally handing out bags of money on Monday, like that one SpongeBob episode where they sold pretty patties. They were absolutely handing out money. They were printing money on day one. Raiders, Titans, Panthers, even though the Lloyd deal wasn't terrible. I felt like that counteracted the Jalen Phillips deal. I thought they got him on a very, good quality deal at 3 for $45, because a lot of people were talking crazy about him. His deal was going to exceed $20 million a year. I'm like, I don't see that. That's and what you just said is part of the reason why I think the Raiders still have to trade Max Crosby, because they were so aggressive in free agency. Like, you don't pay $27 million a year for Tyler Linderbaum if Max Crosby's still on the roster. specifically Max Crosby's salary is still on the roster. You don't pay, that kind of money out if Max Crosby's salary is still on the books. So they were moving as if Max Crosby's salary wasn't a part of their budget for 2026. So it's hard for them to now pivot and say, okay, we'll just add his salary back into the mix, which is why I think they're still going to try to find a way to trade him. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, yes, I was kidding. Bailey is just who I want. I can dream. You can absolutely dream, Ree. Don't let anybody stop you. We want Bailey at 7. We can dream as well. But the truth shall set you free. Okay? Don't become a prisoner in your own mind to your dreams, right? Don't become a prisoner to your dreams. Live in reality. That's what I try to always preach. Live in reality. It's a lot easier that way. Okay? Live in the real world. But don't we all want a guy like David Bailey? But as Mike Tomlin said, got to lose a lot of games to be able to draft a guy that looks like that. And you never lose that many games. We almost did. So, Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, NFL fans are crazy. We love our teams, but we hate everything they do. It's hilarious. And we care so much. Probably too damn much. It is hilarious. We live, eat, breathe, sleep with these teams, man. Like, we live and die with every snap. I can't tell you how many times you've come up here after a Bucks primetime game and absolutely lost your shit. We got to get rid of Todd Bowles. He's awful coach. I've seen the highs from you. I've seen the lows from you. As a fan, I was so happy when you guys won the Super Bowl. You were so elated, right? And I've seen the Jameis years where you were just riding a roller coaster of emotions. That is what it means to be a fan, man. It's a beautiful thing, honestly. It's a really beautiful thing. It's a really beautiful thing. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, glad we did well in free agency and made some moves to this staff after last year's debacle. Old Ronald Rivera would have just used the injury excuse and ran it back. Absolutely, he would have. That's exactly how things would have gone, and none of this would have come into focus. We wouldn't have had the changes to the coaching staff that we've had. We wouldn't have had the introspective look at how things were being done, and we wouldn't have had them cleansing the roster and completely changing the direction and the philosophical belief on how they were doing things. We just would have had, we were injured. Let's just add a piece here, add a piece there, and let's get healthy and we should be fine. That would have been the methodology. Glad that's not the case. I'm glad we're out of that realm, because that would have been pure insanity. Shregs, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Shregs writes, why don't you like Carnell Tate? Rumors are they love him. I never said I don't like him. I don't love him. There's a difference. Not liking a player means I don't want to draft him at all. I never said I don't want to draft Carnell Tate. I just think there are other players that are better than him. And in the pantheon of Ohio State receivers that have come out in the draft the last 5 years or so, I think he's a little bit further down that list. That's what I said. Never said that I don't like him. I don't love him. I don't think he's as talented as JSN. I don't think he's as talented as Chris Olave when he was coming out. I don't think he's as talented as Garrett Wilson when he was coming out. That's what I said. That's not a knock necessarily on Tate, as it is more so my appreciation for what Ohio State has put out in the draft at the receiver position over the last 5 years or so. They've been a factory, and I think he's a little bit further down the list, but he's still really good. Still a really good football player. I just don't think he's as good as those other guys. But again, we'll see what happens with him. DeMarco Williams, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, DeMarco writes, what up, Lou? What's up, DeMarco? How's it going here? He says, how's it going? It's going well. Really well, actually. Here's a fun fact. Nick Cross is my former summer camp counselor. Bro used to always tackle me. He seems like a pretty cool guy, man. I can't wait to listen to him talk at his presser, because I'm pretty sure he's going to be among the guys that step up to the podium, get these deals signed. And they've been just running through a myriad of guys, just the full gamut of them. So can't wait to hear him speak. And that's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool story, man. He was a summer camp counselor. Sounds like he was a pretty cool guy. That's dope. HK Hawkins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. HK Hawkins writes, who do you think will play middle linebacker? My guess is it will be Jordan McGee. It will be Jordan McGee unless they draft Sonny Styles. Then, of course, it would be Sonny Styles. But I think it's going to be Jordan McGee. I think Jordan McGee will be your middle linebacker, and Leo Chanel will be the outside backer. He'll be your Sam. And we're going to be in nickel a ton. I know we hear about 3-4 defense, this, that, and the third, but I think you're going to see two backers on the field a ton. So it'll be Jordan McGee and Leo Chanel. And then who knows? We'll see what they do with the other backs that are on this roster. We liked Alec Cajo in preseason last year a lot. See if in year 2 he, takes. Remember, this was a guy that was recruited by Alabama and went to Bama initially, and then had the major injury, and was out of football for an entire year and a half, and then transferred to UCLA and tried to rebuild his career. So, and this was really a special teams player after that. So he had talent. So, like, I'm not saying don't sleep on Ale Cajo. You go to sleep and hit the alarm on him. I'm just saying I think he could end up being a solid player too. But I think Jordan McGee is your middle backer. I think he's your middle backer right now. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ree writes, we chose Todd Bowles over Mike Evans. Mike Evans will be a Super Bowl contender. We have Todd Bowles and Sean Tucker's stinking ass. That's the Ree I know right there. That's the spirit. That's the Ree I know. Love Mike Evans. Hate that he didn't finish his career Buck, but he wanted a new challenge. He said that the Bucks made a very competitive offer. It was comparable money. I think he just wanted to get out of Tampa Bay, honestly. And San Francisco felt like a great fit for him. And he thinks he's going to have a chance to win a Super Bowl there. And they were just in the divisional round. They've been in the NFC Championship game. It feels like almost every other year they're in the NFC Championship game. And if they can stay healthy, they'll have a chance to be right back in that mix again. They're a well-coached team. They've got good talent, and they just added a future Hall of Famer. So we'll see what happens. The good thing about your team is that you guys play in a lousy division. And so you should have a shot. And I think your organization, you say what you want, but Jason Light was preparing for this day. He knew it was going to come eventually, whether it was Mike just retiring flat out or Mike moving on. It's why you've continued to draft receivers. It's why you took Tez Johnson in the 7th round. It's why you drafted Emeka Egbuka in the 1st round last year. It's why you continue to add receivers, even though you had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you guys are going to be just fine without him. I think you got to see what life without Mike looked like last year. There were some inconsistencies, and you dealt with injuries last year. But if you get healthy, right, you get all your stuff back, including the receiver from Washington. I can't think of his name right now, but the UW receiver. You get all your stuff back, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Rashad White is a commander on a 1-year deal. Surprised by the 1-year nature. Thought it was going to be a 2-year deal. So that tells me they don't love Rashad White. They like him a lot. Anxious to see what they do at the running back position moving forward. Do they, draft Jeremiah Love? Do they re-sign Jeremy McNichols? Do they go out and get another running back late in the draft, undrafted? Do they go out and get another free agent running back to add into the mix and just I got a feeling that they want to have 4 guys in the mix, but it may only be 3. We'll see. What's next for the Commanders? Feel like you got to add another corner and another wide receiver. Those are the 2 positions that stick out like a sore thumb. They brought back Trent Scott. That was another move. And Jacob Martin is now a Tennessee Titans 2 years, $11 million for Jacob Martin. Good for him. So the second Commander to leave Washington and get a deal elsewhere. So there are teams actually eyeballing some of our stuff after all. There wasn't much, but the stuff that was out there did get snatched up a little bit. Chris Paul is still waiting for someone to pick up the phone and give him a phone call. So that's interesting. We kept hearing he's going to have this robust market, and yet he hasn't been signed yet. That is pretty interesting, but I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Get out of here, and I will see you guys a little bit later on this evening, and we will talk about what was said at the podium by all of these new Commanders. Peace.